Hi everyone and welcome to another Diets and Doodles video. Ramadan is a time when the air smells of sugar and we all feel the need to have every sweet under the sun every night in Ramadan. Sweets high in sugar and fat are super yummy. I myself love baking all types of sweets and desserts, and it is perfectly okay to have these sweets occasionally during Ramadan. However, most of us tend to feel like something sweet after iftar every day and resort to eating high energy, high fat and high sugar desserts. For this challenge Choosday, I will be attempting to make some healthier versions of these desserts with lower sugar and fat and higher protein and fibre to reduce calories eaten at dessert, as well as help make these snacks more filling. So let's see how I did. First off, I made some mhalabiye, which is a Middle Eastern milk pudding. I used 1 litre of light high protein milk instead of full cream milk, 5 tablespoons of corn flour, 1 cup of stevia instead of sugar. The original recipe asked for 2 cups of sugar, so I reduced the quantity by half for the stevia, but it still turned out quite sweet, so I suggest using only half a cup. Pistachios for topping, 4 teaspoons of rose water, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. First, add your stevia and corn flour into a jug, mix and add some milk. Mix well, then over high heat add the milk and the corn flour mixture and stir continuously until it thickens. Add the vanilla and rose water. Stir and remove off the heat. Ladle out separate portions, this made 8 serves, and refrigerate for at least 1 hour. I kept mine overnight. Top with pistachio and you're done. I found that this version of mhalabiye was actually very similar to the original in texture and taste. It was, however, too sweet like I said, so add half the stevia and it should be fine. Next, I made oat chocolate chip cookies. I used 1 cup of oatmeal, which I made by putting some oats in a food processor. Oats have more fibre than white flour, including soluble fibre, which can help reduce cholesterol. A 1/3 cup stevia, a pinch of salt, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 3 tablespoons of margarine with plant sterols to replace butter and reduce the saturated fat, half a cup chopped 85% dark chocolate, as it has less sugar than regular dark chocolate and milk chocolate, a 1/3 cup skim milk to reduce the fat and energy, and 1 teaspoon vanilla. First off, mix all your dry ingredients together, then mix in your wet ingredients. Add your chocolate chips. At this point, I was panicking about how wet the mixture was. There was no way I could make these into cookies. However, I put them in the fridge for 15 minutes and the oats absorbed all the moisture, allowing me to place 1 tablespoon balls on a lined baking sheet. I made around 14 cookies from this batch. Bake at 190 degrees Celsius for 7 minutes and don't forget about them like I did. Let them cool as they are very soft when they first come out of the oven and enjoy. So they worked well despite my initial doubts and the lack of multiple sticks of butter usually found in cookies, and they were actually pretty good. For my next experiment, I tried to make healthier knefe. For this, I used 2 1/3 cup of fine semolina, 1 1/2 cups of skim milk, a 1/2 cup melted plant sterols margarine, 1 tablespoon stevia, 1 teaspoon orange blossom water and 1 teaspoon rose water. For the filling, I used 350 grams of light ricotta cheese and only 50 grams of mozzarella cheese to see a little bit of a cheese pull, instead of ashta or tons of mozzarella cheese, as these are high in energy and fat, and mozzarella cheese has about 4 times the amount of calories as the ricotta per gram. For the toppings, I have some crushed pistachio and I attempted to make some syrup using water, stevia and corn flour. However, it wasn't the best result. You can buy ready-made no sugar syrup or use a small amount of honey, keeping in mind that honey is practically sugar, so use in moderation. So let's just skip this part. For the knefe, just mix all your ingredients together, but only 3/4 cup of the milk in a bowl until a smooth dough forms. Bake this at 150 degrees for 30 minutes or until it's fully cooked through, but it hasn't changed color. Blend these into a fine crumb, add the other 3/4 cup of milk and mix. Press into the bottom and slightly up the sides of a lined baking pan, preferably one that is see-through. Mix the ricotta and mozzarella together and spread into the tray. Press another layer of the semolina mixture and cook in the oven at 180 degrees for 30 minutes. You can put it under the broiler for 5 more minutes to give the base more color. So mine was a little pale, which is why I suggested using a clear baking pan, so it's easy to see when it's fully done before flipping it out. Top with pistachio and serve with no sugar syrup or honey, as it is not very sweet without it. It was actually pretty good despite the lack of ghee and food coloring. I couldn't even tell that the ricotta wasn't ashtar. The taste kind of reminds me of another Arab sweet called ma'moul ashtar. This recipe made 9 serves. For my 4th recipe, I made dark chocolate brownies. I used 1.5 cup of wholemeal flour to increase the fibre, a 1/2 cup buttermilk, a 1/3 cup stevia, a pinch of salt, 1/2 teaspoon baking powder, 2/3 cup of milk, 3/4 cup of cocoa powder. I recommend using 1.25 cup, but I ran out, so I added an extra no sugar chocolate bar instead. 2 teaspoons vanilla, 1/2 cup of low-fat Greek yogurt to replace some of the butter normally used, 2 tablespoons peanut butter to also replace some butter, and 80 grams of dark chocolate. First, combine all your wet ingredients and whisk. Add in the baking powder, stevia, salt, and cocoa powder. Stir and then fold in your flour, followed by your chocolate, until it's just combined. Spread into a baking tray lined with baking paper and bake at 150 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes or until a skewer comes out with a loose crumb. These had a very interesting texture. They were fudgy and dense but not too sweet. I had mixed reviews from my family, with some being impartial to them while others really liking them. And last but not least, wholemeal Atayef or Middle Eastern pancakes. I used 1 cup of wholemeal flour, a 1/2 cup of semolina, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of instant yeast, 1 tablespoon baking powder, a pinch of salt, 1.5 cups of water, 1/2 cup of skim milk, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Mix all the dry ingredients in a bowl. In a jug, mix the wet ingredients and pour into the dry ingredients while mixing continuously. Continue mixing until you have little to no lumps. Leave covered in a warm place until bubbles form on the surface. This took an hour for me, and then mix again. Heat up a pan and spray some olive oil. Put 1 tablespoon of batter on the pan. Burn your first batch, reduce heat to low, and try again. If you realize there aren't as many bubbles forming, add some water to the mixture to thin it out. I added about 4 more tablespoons of water. You should cook the atayef on one side until the other side fully dries and remove from the pan. You don't need to flip them. Serve with ricotta instead of ashtar and chopped up nuts. I used walnuts and no sugar syrup or a small amount of honey. They actually don't need that much. These were my family's favorite. They were really close to the original and no one realized they were wholemeal. So those were 5 recipes I attempted to make some common treats healthier. What do you think of these recipes? Do you have any questions or suggestions for healthy desserts or other recipes you'd like to see? For more ideas and nutrition related content, subscribe and follow me on my other social medias. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!